Some shocking and unfortunate news coming out today about Kaiden Guhle, as Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts says that he'll be out a little while, with another source that's now deleted said that he could be out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken wrist. We'll be diving into all these crazy rumors, plus Habs Insider says that Cayden Primeau has been garnering some interest from some other teams. Could he maybe be moved? All of that and much more in this episode of Habs Digest. But the first thing we want to talk about today from 32 Thoughts is a little note on Juraj Slafkovsky, Jesse, and apparently he pretty much only hears from Coach Marty within the organization. We thought this was a little interesting, so let's show the screenshot. An interesting thing to start the season, only Martin St. Louis does the verbal work with Juraj Slafkovsky. No confusion, no mixed messages, one voice. The Habs know he can fire it, but they've also shown video of going to the net resulting in goals, and hey, he did that a bit in the preseason, and he's been working on that so far this season. I wanted to ask you, do you think this strategy of just kind of having that one microphone for Juraj Slafkovsky, that one speaker saying, here's what you need to do you think that is maybe good for him and his development overall to avoid confusion?
I think it is a good strategy because it's working so far. Juraj's going to the net and getting more results, as a result of that. It's really helping to round out his game because, as they say, right, they know that he can shoot it so well, but then going to the net as a big body like that, I think is so huge, right? And the fact that he's listening to his coaches and, getting a goal kind of as a result of that, I think is huge and kind of bodes well for his development. Listening to a great coach like Martin St. Louis is going to do nothing but help you become a better player. So it's important for him to take on this information. And I kind of actually really like the personal relationship that they have. Like, you can tell they've gotten even closer, like, over this second year now of being together. And I feel like they communicate really well. And again, I don't feel like it's like a situation where it's like, oh no, the assistant coaches, it's like, can't speak to Juraj Slafkovsky at all and everything. Like, I'm sure they speak, but in relation to like certain things of the game and just certain feedback of things to improve upon, I'm sure that the coaches, speak together as a team. And then that information is more just relayed from Marty to Slav, right? So, I like that they're kind of taking a personalized approach with him. And, obviously he's getting a lot of time with Coach Marty, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, right? Obviously the coaches speak together. Obviously they're talking to each other about Slav's development, but the fact that if Slav has a question, he knows he's going to Coach Marty. And Coach Marty is probably taking all that info from the other coaches, and he's like, hey, Slav, come here. Here's what everyone has said about you, as opposed to saying, oh, Alex Burrows said this, or hey, by the way, Kent said this, and, all this stuff. Just having that one guy, I think, can be really good. It simplifies things, like we said, and I think it's helping Slav as well. I mean, he's had lots of quotes about how he loves the relationship with Marty, so little interesting note, but yeah, cool to keep an eye on. Let's jump into this Cayden Primeau stuff. And, I probably should have put a question mark here, but hey, you know what? I think it might, I don't know if I want to say it's a certainty, but if teams are inquiring about Cayden Primeau and the Habs still have Monty and Allen, why not? Marco D'Amico today tweeted that there appears to be a handful of teams that have inquired on Cayden Primeau over the last few weeks. Could a trade be brewing? And he took that from Boston Hockey Now. But here's the thing, Jesse. As is the case with the thing later in the video, that article got deleted. So I'm not sure if the rumors are not true. Maybe there was something else in the article that wasn't true. However, let's just talk about, in a vacuum, Cayden Primeau maybe being moved. We talked a lot about Sam Montembeault or maybe Jake Allen being the ones getting moved, and not so much Cayden Primeau. And a lot of Habs fans are thinking, man, but I mean, the Habs think he's going to get claimed. I don't think he will. I think this, first of all, solidifies the fact that keeping him on the main roster to start the season was the right choice if teams are already asking about trading for him. But what do you think about a potential trade possibility for Cayden Primeau? Do you think if the Habs get that opportunity, they should maybe go for it? And if it's maybe draft compensation, that could also open up another roster spot.
I don't think Kaiden Primeau's untouchable, but at the same time, I feel like the Montreal Canadiens want to keep him. Obviously, they made a choice to kind of keep three goalies going in this season, not make them, waiver eligible. So, for me, that signals that they want to keep him in the organization. I think, they want to see him a little bit more at the AHL, ideally a little bit more. Just give him just a little bit more time. But I'm so curious to kind of give him a start sooner than later in the NHL just to see where he's at. Maybe that's not the best thing for his development right now. He probably just needs, just give him a solid little bit more of a run in the AHL. And then maybe, next year, really see what he can do. But I mean, with teams being so cash strapped right now, like that's why there's very few trades going on right now. But with a player like Cayden Primeau, who's not making a ton of money, it does make sense for a lot of teams, in a handful, that's quite a bit. But you got to think of teams like, the LA Kings. That's a very solid team that, they could definitely use some help in goaltending. Their team is solid otherwise. And then you'd also have to think, teams like Tampa Bay, again, a solid team. It wants to compete. It needs some goaltending help. Now, I don't know if Cayden Primeau is, proven to be the exact answer for that, but I think these teams are looking for help in these ways, so I don't think he's untouchable, but we don't want to give him away either. And I don't know if these teams are really going to be willing to give what we're looking for. I almost feel like Allen, it might take a little bit longer in the season, like past Christmas, once teams have kind of accrued a little bit more space. Like, I almost feel like that might be the more possible trade target this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a team that's willing to take on Allen's money, I completely agree. Obviously, that's the thing that's holding the Habs back. But realistically, Jake Allen looked good in his first start of the season, even though he gave up a good number of goals to the Leafs. He did not look bad in that start. And Cayden Primeau, again, he's kind of stuck behind two guys that are still kind of fighting each other for the starting spot. And he's just kind of been blocked by a lot of Habs goalies over the past number of years throughout his whole development. And you wonder, would more NHL games have done him good? He's getting some AHL games, but with the advent now of Jakub Dobeš coming up and then Jacob Fowler coming up behind him, Cayden Primeau is sort of getting squeezed out in a way. And while, yeah, I agree, I think Montreal would love to see what he can contribute to the organization. I think if an offer comes around that Montreal's happy with, again, that could free up a roster spot, get some nice draft compensation, it could be good. And Jesse, you got to think some of these other teams are also maybe saying, like, oh, we can fix him, right? Like, he hasn't got the opportunity in Montreal, and he hasn't looked the best so far while he has, but he's still quite young, especially by goalie standards. So worth keeping an eye on, but yeah, very interesting that Cayden Primeau might be on the move. But we got to talk about another Cayden, spelled a bit differently, of course, and this news is much more devastating. And this injury might be worse than we thought. I mean, as you guys know, in the game against the Minnesota Wild on Tuesday night, Kaiden Guhle left the game and did not return with what we heard was an upper body injury. But some further updates have said that he might not be out super short term either. But it's a lot of speculation. We'll share with you guys what we've seen because it's actually been kind of wild on Twitter today. So, first of all, this is from 32 Thoughts. Of course, Guhle was injured, didn't return to play, never an encouraging sign. But Elliot Friedman has said that Guhle is going to be out of action, quote, for a little while. And this kind of sent some people saying, like, oh, well, what does that mean? I mean, maybe he's just speculating because obviously they haven't done tests. Today's a scheduled off day. We're not going to know anything until tomorrow. However, I don't have any screenshots of this because they were deleted. But earlier today, Marco D'Amico was talking with Habs Fan TV on Twitter. You saw Habs Fan TV, and they were retweeting something from another profile with about 1,000 followers. I think like at Itovich, something similar to that. But they had said that they had a source that said that Kaiden Guhle would be out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken wrist. And then Habs Fan TV, they posted a big screenshot saying Guhle would be out 6 to 8 weeks, and Habs insiders were kind of like, what? But then Friedman came out, said he'd be out for a little while. I don't know, Jesse, what do you think about this whole mess? And if he is out 6 to 8 weeks, do you think we can finally confirm that this organization is cursed?
Oh man, if it's a broken wrist, that's pretty bad. I have a little bit of hope though. I'm actually happy that these tweets have been deleted because that way we know, okay, maybe there's a chance that it's not this serious because I mean, like for how young Kaiden Guhle is, like we're gonna miss his poise already, like for however long he's gone, right? He has like such a stabilizing effect on an already very young decor. So obviously, not an ideal situation, but the attitude has to be for the Montreal Canadiens is just next man up. Who's going to be there to kind of fill these steps?
Norlinder.
I think, it's Norlinder. Exactly. Might be a great option. This might be a great opportunity for him to shine. I know some people are saying Justin Barron, and that might be a fair point as well. I just feel like Norlinder could be more dynamic. Just from what I've seen so far, he could just be a little bit more of that X factor in the game that, I mean, we're really needing right now. And then speaking, of Kirby Dach and potential replacements, now we got another player in the organization that's young. He's big, born in Canada. Now, I'm not saying Joshua Waugh is going to replace Kirby Dach, but I think that his size and his combination of skill would be very much needed and appreciated for the Habs right now.
You know what? I know you've been a Joshua Waugh stan since day one. Hey, I can't blame you. The dude, again, has been producing at every single level. And if the opportunity comes, I mean, it would be great. I mean, of course, Michael Pezzetta getting a season debut against Minnesota was quite literally the Habs' best 5-on-5 player by a lot of metrics in yesterday's game. But Joshua Waugh, I think you're right. If he gets an opportunity, he could really shine with some good line mates. Like, again, we've said he could mesh very well with Suzuki. He's shown the ability to step up with high-level talent. But when it comes to Guhle, I think Norlinder obviously is the first option. Now, he played a lot of power play in the preseason. And right now we have Xhekaj and Matheson. Do you think if Norlinder gets a shot, let's say Guhle is out for a few weeks, I mean, even if it's just for a week, right? Even if it's a good injury, it's just for a week, the Habs are probably going to need to call someone up. And let's say they call up a defenseman, and let's say it is Norlinder. Do you see him getting some power play time over someone like a Xhekaj? I can't see him getting it over Matheson. Xhekaj's looked okay on the power play, but maybe you just give Norlinder that shot. You're like, hey, you're here. Let's see what you can do.
I think he might need to work for that one still yet.
Mm-hmm.
But if he shows that he can really play on 5v5, then he's definitely going to get that opportunity. Obviously, it's not locked in stone for Xhekaj. He's been looking all right there so far. But again, our power play really needs help. And he could be a player that could really help. So if he's showing like he's playing good so far and he can be beneficial on that power play, very much sooner than later, we're going to need to get him on there because this is the type of player like he could really help us. He could really step up in this type of situation and give us a lot of help that we need right now.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting and unfortunate situation. We'll try and keep you guys updated as much as we can on the Guhle situation. I'm sure we'll have an update tomorrow. Whether or not there's a video on that, like as soon as it happens, maybe not. But hey, we'll do our best to let you guys know because this go follow the situation on your own if you want because there's not many posts talking about this whole 6 to 8 week wrist injury. Let's just hope that's not true. Let's hope it's just a little while. Let's assume Friedman's talking on the order of 1 to 2 weeks because that I could deal with. If he sprained his wrist and he's out 2 weeks, perfect. If he broke his wrist, he's out 6 to 8. I think there's maybe a little more reason to worry. But regardless, for now, all we can do is speculate and hey, wait for the news tomorrow. But that'll do it for this news episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Yes, I know I'm in a new location. I'm back home in Newfoundland for a couple days, so if you see the setting change and you're wondering why, that's the reason. I'm Josh Gosse for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.